The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondel. Tonight, I have an amazing talent in country music. He's become a staple in Nashville, and he's amassed millions of streams on the big platforms and on YouTube. He's been featured in major publications like People Magazine, Rolling Stone Country, and Late Night with David Letterman, and we could not be happier to have him here tonight. So please welcome to the show an incredible artist, Robby Johnson. Welcome to the show, Robby.
Thanks so much, Dave. Thank you for having me on your show. It's such an honor. Thank you so much. I know that you got lots of viewers, listeners, so it's great. Thank you.
Absolutely. And first of all, everybody has a start, and I know you got interested in country music, I believe, from hearing music from your cousin's radio. And, so talk about your start and how you became interested in, the love of country music. Yeah.
So, being young, I would listen to many genres of music, and I still do, but, I loved it. Dolly, Johnny, Kenny, John Denver, all those classic hits, and I would listen to them and I would love them. But I guess I wasn't old enough to appreciate, country music as much. And one time I was at my cousin's place and he started playing me a song. He's like, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And he started playing it to me, and it was a player, and I put that in my ear and started listening. And it was, oh my God, it was kind of a revelation. Garth Brooks was singing directly to me, just to me. I was so special. He has that power, and it's like when he sings to you, he wants to change your life. And I've learned from being with his vocal coach that he didn't have her for a long time, but she was like, "You need to change people's life with every song you sing." And that's how he approached it. And I could feel it. It transpired through the music. And I totally fell in love with country music all over again. And Garth Brooks, major, major influence, just the way he treats his fans and all that. I had the immense privilege to meet him in person. I was at the 50th CMA Awards, and I was on the floor of the award show. I was right there, in the first rows. I had the tickets of Brett Eldridge, who wasn't there because he was going to the Cubs World Series.
Oh, wow.
So he wasn't there that night. And he wasn't winning any prize, so he just skipped. And I got his ticket, so I was sitting there.
Wow.
Maybe I wasn't worthy. I guess I wasn't, but I was still there, next to Darius Rucker, Tanya Tucker. And during a commercial break, I just got up and went to the front row. I bowed to Tricia. And, of course, Garth got up, took off his hat. He grabbed my hand, and we started talking for the whole duration of the commercial break. And it was so awesome because, oftentimes you will meet an artist and they just pull out a Sharpie and say, "Oh, where do you want me to sign?"
Right. Yeah.
But he was like interested because I told him, "Hey, you're the reason I'm in Nashville. I'm trying to make it in country music. It's all because of you." And he was like, "Yeah, what about you? You have a family, you have kids, and you moved to Nashville. Are they doing good with the move and all that?" So he was not talking about himself. He was, just asking, wondering how I was doing, how my family was doing. And then he just finished with, "Hey, just hang in there, kid, and it's going to work." So, And he tapped me on the back, and I got back to my seat, all excited. Like, my God.
What a great story,
Yeah.
I know this is all true because Mitch Rossell, we had on the show at one time, and he was mentioning the same thing, how gracious Garth Brooks is, and and how he cares about other people more than himself. Sometimes he doesn't talk about himself; he talks about you, and he puts you in that moment. So what a great story, and thank you for sharing that, by the way. That's amazing. But, talk about moving to Nashville, because I understand that it was kind of a leap of faith. Like everybody's got that story, right? How they got started. And, I understand that you weren't given time off by your current job. And you said, "You know what? I'm going to do this." And You don't know until you take that leap sometimes. And I think it's a scary thing, but the people that actually do take that leap, always tend to make it because of the passion and the love they have for the art that they're creating. So talk about taking that leap, and how long did it take for you to get to where you are right now?
Okay, so at the beginning, the way it started, I really started my career in Nashville. Before that, I wasn't singing in bars. I wasn't even singing. Yeah, I was singing, in the shower. I was just writing songs, singing for myself, but never in public, really. Maybe, a birthday where I would sing a song, special dedicated song to someone and all that. But it was never, I never considered myself a singer or an artist. And then it all started from a Christmas gift. I was given, a session to cut one of my songs in the studio, and it was like the worst Christmas gift ever because, like I said, I wasn't seeing myself as an artist or as a singer. But I went there, just to have fun. Let's get done with it, no apprehensions. And we just did this, one of my songs, a country rock song. I'll be there rocking and rolling. And I started singing and pouring my guts. And the guy was like, "Where are you from? I mean, this sounds like Nashville. You should be in Nashville." So I started going back and forth to Nashville and met with some great people. I put the song I had, I just put it online through social media. Back then, it was just Facebook was starting to get big, and made 1,000, like I topped the friendships in not even a month. And it was crazy. I think it was 5,000 or something. And in those people, there was Tom Roach, who works with the Osmond. He hooked me up with Jimmy Nichols in Nashville, who worked with Reba McEntire, Faith Hill.
Renowned.
Amazing.
Absolutely,
renowned, amazing player, session player, producer, all that, songwriter as well. Great guy. He was like, he was like a brother to me. He was awesome. And so I started going back and forth. And then one time I was in Nashville in a meeting with Jim Catino, who back then was the big A&R of Sony Music Nashville in Music Row. And so we're in that meeting, and he just explains to me, the reason I'm laughing is because Celine Dion's brother was there with me, but that's a long story.
Wow.
He was the reason I was in a meeting with Jim Catino. He pulled some strings, and so we were there, and Jim was explaining to me, Robby, we help artists that truly believe in what they do. That's their number one goal, their plan A. It's not a plan B. So if you come here, a weekend, a long weekend here and there, or a few months in a row, and then you go back home, it's because you're just trying. You're just trying.
You're not committed to your craft.
You're not committed 100%. So we will help you if you move to Nashville. If that's your plan A and your only plan is to make it in this business, that's when people are going to start helping you and, help you figure it out. And that's when we decided, hey, that's what we need to do.
Well, you think about, like it's not just your time, but it's their time as well. If they're devoting and they're committing to you, they want to see that same commitment. So for our listeners out there who are, deciding whether they're going to move to, Nashville, LA, New York, wherever your art might take you, just remember that, it's what you're doing. If people believe in you and they're devoting their time, that their time is valuable as well. So, again, so I think that's a testament to where you are right now, and the fact that you committed that time, and, and also, talk about South of Me, the song South of Me, that it went in the top 20, the Music Row breakout chart, and which is, I understand is rare to be an indie artist and hit that chart. So talk about that. And was that kind of a turning point?
Yes, that's what started everything, because I had a full project, and that song was in the project, and it was at a time in Nashville where things were changing, because before you would just cut a great project, and then you would pitch it to labels, and they would just like it and just sign you out of that project, or even demos. And, they would just listen to you. You would get in a meeting, you would just start playing, and they would just fall in love and say, all right, we're going with this guy. We truly believe in this, and we're going to back it and going to make it happen. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But at that time, income was starting to get, it was getting down, and it was the starting point of labels not developing artists anymore. They were at a point where they were signing acts, that were already popular, had organic growth, was selling units, doing shows. So I didn't know that back then, because it was shifting. It was shifting. So I worked on this project and I pitched it. Nothing was happening because I didn't know they wanted me, and I was completely unknown. I had no music out there except for that song that got me in Nashville in the first place. But I removed it from every platform because it was good, but it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. So really nobody knew, and people were like, who's Robby Johnson? We don't know who Robby Johnson is. So what we decided to do is, well, we have to commit and start the career. So we just released the single to radio. And it's funny because people, even Jimmy was telling me, Robby, it's a process. You're not going to be on the radio. Slots are determined years in, long time in advance. Right. You're not going to be on TV. You're not. And me coming from sales, because I was a sales rep on the road before that. And in sales, sky's the limit. So I didn't understand. I was like, why? I mean, if we have the product, if we have, if it works, it works. So we just didn't listen to people and just released it to radio without having a promoter. And then we shot a music video with my buddy Ryan Smith, who directed I don't know how many number one music videos.
Yeah, amazing director.
And so we shot in Jamaica. That was terrible. So terrible. We had to shoot it in Jamaica.
Oh, I'm sure, right? On the beach, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. I mean, we caught lightning in a bottle, and we just released the music video, and it started going viral as the song was climbing up the charts. PDs and people would just say, "Hey, this is," they were calling it visual Viagra.
Yeah. I'm sure. Why. I love that.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. But still, it was going up the charts, and the music video was getting more and more and more and more views. And on my first ever press release, I got the Late Show with David Letterman, which was pretty that's incredible. Amazing. Just to get the top 18 on the country breakout chart, Music Row country breakout chart for an indie artist was unheard of. It was pretty intense. And then the Late Show and everything, that was pretty, I still don't believe it. I see footage of David presenting me, and it's me, but I still don't believe it. It was surreal, an out of body, surreal, out of body experience. I remember being behind, those black curtains in that cold studio, Ed Sullivan Theater. Can you imagine? Right.
It's amazing.
Ed Sullivan Theater. So much history was made over there in that studio. The Beatles, Elvis. So I was standing there, and then they call me, and I go on my X, and when it started, I had to hold on to the mic stand because I felt that I was like 30 feet above everything. I wasn't there at all.
It's like a dream.
And I kind of felt my body coming back down, my soul coming back down into my body. It was so weird. Yeah. And I still don't believe it. Yeah. It's better to start with, local TV, but I just went straight to,
absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you something, starting out as an indie artist and working your butt off to get to where you are, one of the things that I remember from the 90s and, the late 80s, when the hip hop groups in New York and Bronx were getting started, they really became known from the DJs that were in the house parties and the clubs and so forth. And, in the country music, I know there's a lot of great country bars out there that I've been to down when I lived in Florida, especially, but there's a lot of great country bars. And is that a thing because I know that there's line dancing and there's people, when there's not a band, there's DJs. Is that a thing in the country world as well, to have DJs in those the country clubs and bars play your music to gain a following? Is that something
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is special promotion that you can pay for clubs where they send your music, straight to the clubs for all the line dancing and troops and everything, and you can even have someone create a line dance to your song, and they just spread it out and they put it on social media and all that.
Yeah.
So yes, that is something that can be done to further your career.
I'm just thinking for marketing
grow.
purposes, for people that are just starting out, there's a lot of avenues to get your name out there. And, have you seen, obviously there's been an evolution now that social media is such a big thing, and with streaming platforms. So from when you started to now, it's just got to be just an amazing growth of, in the industry. And I think, the way it used to be, like you talked about earlier, like a label will sign you, distribute your material. But with the streaming platforms now, are you finding it as an artist that it's easier to put your music out, but then again, there's a lot more competition out there as well for people to listen to. How do you break through? You're not at that level anymore, but that you have to do that. But you find that with the streaming platforms, it's great to put out your music by yourself, but is it also challenging to set yourself apart from the other artists? Is that something that you've had to navigate through yourself?
Yeah, it's challenging, but if you go back when I started, radio was king.
Right.
They decided, they had the break or make shows on radio, and it was true.
Yeah.
And they could, make you or break you or whatnot, or, end your career right there on the spot. So that was tough. But today it changed. Now it's all on demand. That's where people go. That's where people find their music. And also you have, Spotify, which is huge. And then, there's TikTok for music discovery. That is the new player, I would say. That's huge. And you have some artists that will blow up on TikTok and with millions of views and their music in the background, but it will not translate into streams on Spotify, which is weird. Some songs do translate to streaming and some don't. So it's a challenge, to come up with and the thing is, back then, if you weren't signed, you didn't have access to radio. Yes, you could go to secondary, tertiary radio, but major radio stations, that was merely impossible unless you were with the label, because even if you had all the money in the world to pay for promotion, labels would still have leverage, where they have a major act going in that city to perform a show. They're going to promote it on the radio. They're going to give tickets to that radio station. So it's easy to make a call and say, hey, why are you playing that Robby Johnson record? You should be playing this and that, and I've got a bunch of tickets, for the show for this guy who's coming to your town, So it wasn't payola, but they had the leverage, and they would invest so much money in advertisement in all those big conglomerates of radio stations, the big companies, the Cumulus, and all the big ones, and the High Hearts and all that. So, so it was so tough. But now it totally changed, with Spotify. And even back then, even if it was radio, and labels and all that, it was still the people that decided what was good or what wasn't.
And I think they still do. And
exactly.
And this, that brings me to this question, because, and I feel this. I used to direct music videos back in the day, back before all the social media and all that. But one of the things that I've noticed now, working with record companies myself back then, was now it almost seems like there's a level playing field for the artist, especially the indie artists, where the labels are still there, and thank God. I mean, I don't think
totally.
You can't have an industry without labels still, and record companies and TV studios. But at the same time, with the social media and the kind of content that young artists that they're putting out, it's almost like leveling the playing field a little bit. So these artists that don't have a big budget or any budget or representation, they can still get their music out there. And some people are just fantastic at marketing their music and marketing themselves on a YouTube or like a TikTok or Instagram. So what are your thoughts on that? Has it really kind of leveled that playing field in your mind?
Yes, it totally did. It totally did. But like you were saying, the labels, it's music business. You still need the labels, because for an artist, it's incredible the quantity of people that you need behind you to make it, if you want to get to a higher level of your touring, you're making, you're selling out stadiums and all that. You need a huge team behind you. And labels have that, they have the manpower to help you get to that level, something that you will never accomplish if you're like, I'm an indie and I just want to stay an indie, and it's not going to happen. You really
you're going to stay here, but you're not going to get here, right?
No, you're not. No, you're not. And so it's great. But yes, today, I mean, it's never been, I would say, easier for an artist to get his music out there and get noticed and grow. I mean, and the thing is, you just have to, and unless you're a boy band, you can't really fabricate in country music. You can't fabricate a country hit. It has to really come from here and be genuine, authentic. So, and that's what I tell people, artists, when they're asking, hey, what should I do? And, what should I not do? And biggest advice is just be you.
Right.
Don't try to figure out what people want to hear. Just say what you want to say. And if that's what they want to hear, and that's what they connect with, then great. Because not every artist is meant to be a huge star, but we all have, a crowd for us. We just don't know the size of that crowd. But if you try to fabricate something and it works, but you hate it, imagine.
You said it perfectly, because I think that people try to sound like somebody they're not. And eventually, not only are they going to be miserable because it's not the art that they want to create, but it's also people are going to see through the BS. They're going to see through it. Yeah. And especially the country crowd, because a lot like gospel, country, I think fans are traditionalists when it comes to the music. And if you're going to be in our genre of music, and especially it's not just the fans, but it's also the peers, that people kind of hold each other in check. Do you find that to be true as well?
Yeah, totally true. And because I mean, if you're doing something you don't like, and it's funny because we were talking about labels where they would pick up an act and just launch them, and oftentimes they would getting AAA writers to write music with them, and it's funny how many times you see an artist, from the first album where they break out, and then the following albums, they sound so different from when they started, but that's the music that they really love. Right. Yeah. And it's cool that they're like, hey, that's what I want to do. Even if they're not becoming, the major, the Luke Bryans and all that, still they do the music they love, and they have the crowd that loves their music. So it makes for a great show, a great win-win. Live show. Yeah. It's a win-win. But it's funny. I think we're going to see less of that because, labels are signing acts that are already, broke out, and I'm hoping they're doing the music they love and just release that and push that. And so we should see less of that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Is there one venue? I know you played a lot of venues, big venues, but is there that one venue that you have on your bucket list that you haven't played yet that you're hoping to play?
I mean, it would be great. Kind of, and I say it in the song, I have my song, If I Ever Was a Cowboy, and it's, I talk about, uh, it would be great to do, big rodeo in Texas. I mean, that would be insane.
Yeah.
That would be totally insane to do
Yeah.
that.
Have you ever played Red Rocks in Colorado?
No, I've heard about it. A lot of people are telling me, "Oh, this is so
They say
amazing."
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, they say it's
You know,
phenomenal.
yeah.
But yeah, I have some friends that moved there, and they were like, "You gotta come do this, man. It's
It's just,
insane." And
I guess it's just a natural wonder that, and whoever, built it into an amphitheater, it was like a natural place to have one. And they said
yeah,
it's just amazing, just to play there.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I would say that big rodeo like that. Just think of
yeah.
that would be
Houston
amazing.
rodeo, yeah, big rodeo in Houston. I mean, that would be something to sing
Yeah.
that song right then and there.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Have you
That
ever
would
had
be cool.
want to collaborate with a certain person out there, somebody that you look up to, and in the business that you've always wanted to collaborate with on a song?
Well, I mean, Garth Brooks, of course,
Of
would
course.
be would be
Yeah.
my number one
Yeah.
pick. And I do have a song already. I already have the song, and it's a tongue-in-cheek song. It's kind of funny. It's about me, just playing in Nashville for the first time, thinking I have it, and he's in the back of the room, and he just comes out of the light and tells me, "Hey, son, if you want to get on the radio, this is what you need to be doing." And that would be a cool collaboration, I think. Not for charting or whatnot, just for the fun of it, to
Right.
have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple questions left, but one of the things I want to ask you for our artists out there, we have a lot of independent artists out there that listen. And then one of the things I'd like to ask artists is about, getting the group of people on your team and the importance of getting, the right people. And, so talk about putting your team together and, how they support you and what you do. And, obviously, getting the right folks that have
Yeah.
your back, so to speak. So, so talk about that in your own world.
All right. So first of all, it is, it's hard to make it. It's really hard to make it in the music business because it is so easy to screw it up. It is so easy to screw it up. It is so easy to just abandon and be discouraged because it's a roller coaster ride. One day you're on top of Mount Everest, and the next day you're at the bottom of the ocean. It's really tough. I often say it's the best job to become bipolar. Right? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But I would say number one is you need a good team, but like I was saying, it's easy to make bad decisions. And you can find someone very fast that will work with you if you pay him. That's not a great idea.
Yeah.
I've been down that road, and when they're in the team because you pay them a big retainer, they might not work as hard for you. You have to find believers. Sometimes it may take some time.
Right.
But you have to find a believer that will say, "Hey, I want to work with you. I don't know how much you can give me. I don't know. If you don't have any revenues right now, I don't care. I know this is going to work, and we'll get through this together." You
Yeah.
need that kind of people that will,
Yeah.
just fall in love with you and your project and what you're doing, and just want to be with you. And with the, they just get with you on this big dream. And
Right.
I mean, and it makes it even better when you have success,
Yeah.
because they're part of it and they live it with you instead of, having people around you that are there for the picture, and you
Right.
have to do all the hard work, and they're just I don't know. It's not the same. It's
You
really
need
not
somebody
the
to take
same.
that journey with you, and you know,
Exactly.
not only believe in you, but believe in the bigger picture and what's going to happen down the road. So it's
Yes.
great advice. Great advice.
Yeah.
What
People
can we
that
get?
are there for the good reasons,
Right, exactly the right
not and
reason.
not for the money and not for the
Right,
gain
the
or
fame and the glory and all that. Yeah.
yeah.
So what can we get excited about, my listeners? What do you have coming on, or what do you have going on right now? And you know, any performances coming up?
All right. So right now I have my new song, More Than You Think. That was out for National Grandparents' Day. It's about my grandpa, Leo. A lot of people connect with that song. They relate to it. I'm so happy.
Nice.
And it got featured on Spotify's all new country playlist. So that's really exciting.
Awesome.
Really excited about that. I'm working on some new music all the time. I'm releasing a new song every 6 to 8 weeks. So
Wow.
there's always something to talk about, and I just love doing that. And that's what I'm working on. And Scott is helping me. He's so great, and
He's amazing. I love Scott.
yeah, he's
Absolutely.
amazing. And yeah, just working to get out there. And you know, we've talked about during the interview about highlights in my career. You know, the top 18 or
Yeah.
being on the Late Show with David Letterman. I walked the red carpet at the CMA Awards because of my top 18 on the breakout chart. And I mean, you feel like a Hollywood star, you know, a rock star with all the flashes and Robby, they scream at you and then they take pictures and it's crazy. That's a high.
Right. Right.
But it's nothing compared to when you're in a live show and at one point, you realize that you are in the moment with the band. You look at each other, you're in the moment, you're excited. You look at the crowd, and the crowd are in the moment as well. And everybody understands that we are creating something together,
Right.
you know, a moment that we will remember for a long time. And that is the best feeling.
Connecting
That's
with
the
each other.
highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the connection and creating something. You know, they are the rock stars.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, me, the band on the stage with no crowd, nothing's happening. There's
Right.
nothing there. They're making it happen.
There's
And
got to be
so
no
it's
better
great.
feeling in the world to have
No.
that crowd in front of you, and not only have
Oh
a crowd in
yeah.
front of you, but singing your song back at you that you created. I mean, come on.
Yes. Yes,
It can't be no better
and
feeling than that.
no, there ain't a better feeling, and that's something that I do. You know, bands they do sound check, of course, but I do a light check before my shows because I want to see the people's faces.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and I did, you know, my first, I did a theater and I had a run of 4 shows. And the first night it started and I had the light, you know, coming at me. I couldn't see anybody.
Right.
I hated it. You know, pretend to interact with people you don't see.
Yeah.
It sucks. And
You might
that's
see the
not me.
first row, but that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean it gets old, you know. You
Oh
only
yeah.
get to see, you know, like 30 people, you know, and
Yeah. All right. All right.
you want to see everybody. So
Yeah.
I started doing light checks. And it's funny because that show, I stopped the show and I said, all right, can we turn up the lights? I want to see everybody.
Right.
And they just turned up the lights and, oh, you guys are gorgeous. And everybody started screaming. And
Crazy.
Yeah, they went crazy. So that was a lot of fun. But ever since, you know, I do a light check because I want to see people's faces and eyes and reaction. And when they sing back at you, because sometimes you don't hear them because you have the in-ears and everything.
Sure.
And you don't hear the crowd. But so it's great to see them. And I just love it. It's the best. It's
amazing.
The best feeling. Yeah.
I hear you.
Nothing.
I hear you.
It doesn't compare to being on the Late Show. And so this is
Yeah.
being on the Late Show, and this is when you're in the moment. So sometimes you're not. It doesn't click, and when it does click.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to be on many, many more TV shows like The Late Show. So, you know, before we go, I have this one question I ask everybody, so I'm going to ask you as well. But when it's all said and done, Robby, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to leave behind when people think of Robby Johnson?
I just wish, and I really just wish that, you know, people connect with my music. And if I could have one song out there that represents, a whole generation, where you look back, like in 100 years from now, and it's like, oh, this era, and you would see a song that sticks out, and it's my song, for many years, where people hear that song, like, oh, it brings me back to my 20s or my 30s, or
Right.
I'd love to do that. Where
That's awesome.
kind of like in the Elvis movie, where the Colonel says, we're seeking eternity, and that's a little bit, that's a dream.
Right. That's amazing. No, I love that. That's a great legacy to have. And, and Robby, you're always welcome back. I really enjoyed myself on this show tonight. And, thank you for being on. It's been an honor to have you on, and much success to you in your future. A lot of #1 albums and songs. So again, thank you for being with us, and can't wait to have you back on the show again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave, for having me on your show. And like I said, it's an honor, and anytime I'll be there.